once again for being here, and we're happy to have you here. We started our Community Connections Luncheon Series last year as an opportunity to update our members and the public on various subjects affecting their daily lives. Today we are honored to hear from Mayor Angie in our first 50 days and get an update on how her time has been so far. Before we get started, I would like to thank Deuitch Casino for hosting us and for their wonderful service today. Please give our staff. I would also like to thank Access LaPorte County for being here to film this, as well as the LaPorte County Bureau of Dispatch for providing coverage for today as well. I also want to recognize Katie Slitzak, our marketing events manager, for helping put today on the show. You'll find QR codes that you need for anybody who has not yet registered for an annual dinner who would like to attend. The deadline to attend is Friday, so please register if you would like to. We'd be happy to have you there. I'd also like to thank all of our members whose support has made today happen, especially our stakeholder and visionary members, Horizon Bank, NICA, and Hitachi Global Air Power. I would also like to thank Gemnis Corporation for sponsoring the lunch today. At this time, I would like to invite Nicholas Neal, the Vice President of Community Services, to say a few words on their behalf.
Good afternoon. Let's try it again. Good afternoon. Did you guys enjoy lunch? All right. I'll just move this. So, she said, I'm Nicholas Neal, the Vice President for Community Services Gemnis Corporation, a member of the Regional Care Group. So we are delighted to be here today. So I love the team sitting here in the front. You guys raise your hands. So kind of give my hand here for being here today as well. Thank you. So a few quick things on Michigan City. We had the pleasure, a couple of us did, of having lunch with the mayor on yesterday. And I just wanted to let you guys know that you guys are in good hands with the new mayor of Michigan City. She has a lot of energy, and she is ready to work with you. She has a good heart, and I just want you guys to know that I think that you're in store for some beautiful things here over the next 4 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to please join me in welcoming the esteemed mayor of Michigan City to our Chamber of Commerce luncheon today, a dedicated leader, committed to fostering economic growth and community development. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Oh, should we get a selfie?
I have to do that. Get the logistics out the way.
I think it should be on a bomb.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah. All right.
Well, Mayor Angie, thank you for being here today. You're 50 days into your term, and you've already had to deal with record-breaking cold and snow in the first 2 weeks. Tell us, what was going through your mind during that time, and what did you do to ensure public safety and make sure our residents were safe?
So that was the second. So first of all, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Kind of the first interview I've done outside of the storm. So I would like to thank the Chamber for allowing me to be here this afternoon, and all of you who are attending. So I'll say this, that was the second snowstorm. So one of the things that I think I've been prepared for because of the phone company and the utility company is that we always had emergencies that I had to deal with. So this was no different. Just making sure that the employees understand how to do a pre-brief and a post-brief and how to be prepared for the storm. I think that was the biggest challenge, bringing everybody together to have that discussion. So it was like having like 20 gas leaks in one day at NIPSCO. That's what the snowstorm was. So, but what it taught our team is that we have some gaps that we need to fix. But they did a wonderful job. I think communicating more with one another, and then the communication with me, with the team, and then asking very direct questions like, this is my day. I'm going to take what my 2 days, 3 days were throughout the day. How many people were? How many trucks on the road? How many salt trucks are out? How many things are broke? Who's working maintenance? Those are my questions. And I know I was firing them off so fast. They're not used to all the emails and text messages. So we had like 10 maybe text messaging chains. I was wearing them out a little bit. But the biggest challenge was public communication and making sure that the public understood what the employees were going through during that time period. That was my responsibility, to make sure that the public understood why services weren't happening, but to also leave the employees alone. A lot of times our family members are our biggest critics, and they want their things done now. And what I've told the team is that it's first in, first out. Don't let anybody take you off schedule to go fix something because you have a relationship, because all residents require the same service. So that's going to be different. And I think just making sure that they understand that. But the public, that was the biggest piece that I thought was critical, is that they understood what was happening and why it was happening. Why your garbage isn't being picked up. Why, this isn't happening. And once they understood that and said, listen, I'm like, our employees are working 12, 15 hours a day. If they're parked at Dairy Queen, leave them alone, It was more like, hey, this city vehicle is parked. And I'm like, they get a break too, right? They get a break just like everybody else. So I think the communication piece was important, but now I know we have gaps with equipment and how we maintain our equipment, how we schedule people. So we're working on that. But that's probably my number one priority, is the standard operating procedures and how we interact with one another. And that's probably what the storm showed us, is that we need more of that.
Absolutely. Outside of the weather, please tell us some other things you've accomplished in your first 50 days that we would like to share.
So we just had a staff meeting today, our third one, and just review of policies. I've asked the council, and they passed $500,000 for our new leadership internship program for college students. So $175,000 is for a 2-year pilot, and Keela Ward is our new Director of Education Workforce. And what we're doing is each department has to fill out a form about something they need in their department. If there's a problem that needs to be solved, we're going to pay, hopefully, Michigan City, LaPorte County residents that are in college, pay them to come help us solve the problem. So our goal is to hire at least 20 students this year. The undergrads will be $17 to $20 an hour. Graduate students, $19 to $22 an hour, and good wage. But we're going to use them to solve our problems, help us in all our different departments. So, and then provide them leadership training. So they'll get some leadership training. Then the other $300,000 is really for employees. So we're working on workforce development for our employees. So, for instance, I can give you an example: sanitary district. We have our refuse department. We have several refuse workers that were supposed to get their CDLs. Well, they haven't gotten their CDLs because it's an expense. This money will be able to help them get their CDLs. Other departments, we have mechanics. We want them certified to work on other types of equipment. We can use this money to get them certified. But then we have the leadership piece of it, where I've been meeting and going back and forth with the Center for Workforce Innovation in Purdue on leadership development training for our leaders, because we stick people in leadership positions but then don't give them the tools to be able to lead. And my role as the executive of the city is to prepare them to lead. And I've been very candid with the staff, even during our post brief of the storm. I said, listen, I'm going to say some harsh things. I'm going to say some hard things. I may say some critical things. But as long as we're in this room, this is where it stays. And once we're outside of the room, I'm gonna praise you, I'm gonna do all that. I said, but if you can't take the criticism or the harsh reality of some of the things and the truths that I'm saying, you don't belong in this room. And everybody has been gracious. When I say the employees are craving to do better, no one wants to fail. Everybody, I think it's just refreshing to hear some of the things that they want. I just don't think they've been asked before.
Yeah. And now you mentioned working with the Center for Workforce Innovations in Purdue. What other plans do you, or schools or anything do you plan to work with to ensure that our residents have the proper training and the education to be able to go out into the workforce?
Well, workforce is we have a new battery plant going in, one stop away from the South Shore, from Michigan City to New Carlisle. I've been involved with the school system for a long time, and I think this week is Engineers Week, for instance. So this morning I was with Al Wallace, and we were presenting at Barker Middle School about engineering and we talked about Blue Chip quite a bit. We talked about the building of Blue Chip Casino and all the different types of engineers that are required to build a structure like this. And we talked about streets and roads and all of that. And I think we have to start earlier with our students to meet like real world people that are in this room and talk about the careers that we've had and kind of connect them. One of my connecting points is, hey, I went to Krieger. This is, I know you guys are rivals, but my daughter graduated from Barker Middle School, now she's at IU, and just giving them those connections about, what's next. But the key to some of the opportunities is understanding all the wraparound services that need to be had. Keela Ward is working with Center for Workforce Innovation, CWI, and we've already identified a core team to work on an opportunity hub here in Michigan City. And an opportunity hub is just that. It's really about connecting all of the services that people would need to be, first of all, thrive in a career. So that means transportation, that means adult education, Ivy Tech, Goodwill, United Way, all of the different people that could impact an individual to be successful in a job. So I think we have a couple of things out there. We've started the process for that opportunity hub. Now we got to find a location. So that's taking a little bit more time. But I think we can get there, and having an office at City Hall that would be the connection point for residents, I think is going to be instrumental in making sure the residents know, where they need to go for services. So that's kind of what I've been working on, just meeting the different companies. I know I'm doing a breakfast with some of the larger manufacturers here at the end of the month.
So I'm glad you mentioned transportation, because that leads into my next question. So at the current moment, our public transit does not fill the whole city, and it does end at 6 p.m. And there's plenty of students now who I know they're delaying getting their driver's licenses at 16, which also becomes an issue of making sure people get to work, get to and from work safely. So what measures are you planning to take or have you taken to ensure that our third shift workers or others have access to public transportation and both to and from work?
Well, I claim to be Wonder Woman sometimes, but that's not a problem that's going to be solved right away. I will say that with transportation, that's not an easy fix. Robin Tillman Barzoni does a great job. She writes grants. I think this is a place where we can plug in entrepreneurs for transportation. I know I sent her a grant that we're looking at. But for a city our size, transportation is subsidized. It's not something that we make money off of at all. So we have to figure out some different creative ways to do that. I think one way of doing that is when I have this conversation with manufacturers is you need workers, but what are you willing to put or bring to the table to allow people to get to work? And I think it could be done creatively we have a lot of medical transport companies, people who want a business, and I think if all the different companies that have shift work, if we sat at a table and had a conversation and tried to work something out where I could just do almost like a request for proposals from local companies. I was at a conference, Smart Cities Conference in Columbus a couple of years ago, and there was a company out of New York, and that's what they did. They really they just put out a request for ideas, and then they put some money out there for it, and people, they all, put their proposals in, and that's how they came up with the transportation system. So I just think that we're used to, hey, let's just have a bus. I'm not sold on large buses. I like on-demand service. Thanksgiving, I was in Florida a couple years ago, and there was an app, and it was free service throughout the city. And most of the drivers just worked off tips. They had these, carts and things, and I'm like, that's another opportunity. So, not an answer. I think we're looking for solutions to solve that. And I think that's something I need more public input for that, but I think asking the companies, what do you really need from transportation? How many workers do you need? I don't want to create a transportation system, and then all of a sudden, we're like our triangle, nobody's riding it, because somebody has to pay for it.
Right.
And I'm very conscious of our money and what we can spend it on, and I don't want to do something for the sake of doing it and say I did it if it's not effective. So that's going to take a little bit more time. Long answer, but no answer.
Sometimes no answer is a good answer if you don't have the right answer. So, in your first 100 days, you did say you wanted to address the issue of housing.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of initiatives would you like to do, or have you put in place already to ensure affordable housing for our residents, making sure that, I know we have a lot of housing projects going around, but making sure that everybody has access to housing?
Well, that's a long-term goal. It's not a 100-day goal. I think a couple of things that we've done. I know for the Ready 2.0 proposals, I've supported 4 housing projects that are hope to be underway. And I've done 2 interviews for the new executive director for the Housing Authority. So we've been without a Housing Authority director for several months. They got some very good candidates. And I think historically in recent times, we have not connected the city, Housing Authority, CDG, together with other local nonprofits that do housing to kind of sit down and have the conversation. It's always been everybody in their own silo, and every place that I've been, as far as economic development conferences around these types of issues, they all sit at the table together and they stack their money together. And here we're just kind of stagnant with what we're doing. I think we're spending more time trying to keep up with the basic maintenance versus how do we give new? Because, I look at the housing, over 50% of our houses are rentals, okay? And until we get housing in the pipeline, there's no reason to improve on your properties if you don't have competition. And until we get some housing stock in the pipeline, we're going to continue to see that. So I want people to have safe housing. I want them to have reliable housing. What you will find, and I think Chris Pate is in the room, United Way, but poverty, people who are in poverty, they spend more for housing than people middle class and above. And the reason for it is windows, insulation, roofing, and doors. NIPSCO is twice as much as someone in a larger house who makes more money. So we're spending, if you're in poverty, you're spending out a higher percentage of your wages on housing and utilities and all those things. So it's important to me, but I think it has to be done in a very careful and methodical manner. And it's not just about low income or affordable, it's about workforce housing. That middle market is just as important as high end and low income. When they want to call it low income, it's what it is. Everybody's not going to make $50 an hour. But my thing is, that's okay. I still want them to have new housing. I want them to have safe housing. So that's taking time. Hopefully with Ready and maybe some other opportunities, we'll be able to move forward with some of those projects.
Within the next 5 years, the west side potentially could be transformed with the decommissioning of NIPSCO and the moving of the prison. What would you love to see happen in that area? Or what's your plan for that area?
My plan or what I dream for? Those are two different things.
Let's do both.
Okay.
Start with your plan.
So I know that Ready 1.0, I submitted a proposal for a feasibility study for the prison relocation, but now that they're closing, the EDC actually is moving forward with the feasibility study. They'll be putting together that team of local people and people who could have a good background on how we move forward. So planning-wise, we have that money, which we hadn't touched. So we have that money that now we can move forward with the prison feasibility study, which I would like to see more about, what we could do there. Because I'm just going to, from a selfish standpoint, the prison is our largest water customer. So we're going to lose on the waterfront side, right? So that's revenues that the water department receives. That you may not know that, but that's our largest customer from the prison. So we have to think about how do we replace that revenue. Also, how do we keep the historical nature of things at the prison? There's some beautiful architecture there, but I would like to see housing there and maybe some mixed-use things there. And then, a stone throw away is the national park. So when I think of NIPSCO, and I shared this with them when we met with them about a week ago, I said, well, I don't want any residential housing on that site. Zero. I don't want any developers coming in making big condos or anything. I don't want any of that on that site. They haven't shared with us, what the intention is. They're still going through that process, but what I shared with them, I said, I need to know something sooner than later because there's dollars that are attached to closing coal-fired plants. So I can't find out in 2026 or 2027. I really need to know yesterday. And they said, so we're going to start setting up quarterly meetings and talk through that. But if I had it my way, we would have a new entryway into the national park from Michigan City. We will have some type of indoor water park, some outdoor entertainment stage, almost like an entertainment district, is what I want to see, but it has to have all public access. And a larger marina, if perfect world. Those would be the things I would want to see on that site, but definitely zero housing for me. I just think that we overdevelop our lakefront all the time, and then it's the have and the have-nots, and I don't want to see that at that site. I want people to have some type of access, maybe some entertainment type district or something like that, and then use the prison site more for housing and perfect world. If I had all the money in the world, that's what would happen.
It's a great vision for that area. So those are the questions I had. I'll open up to the audience if you want to open up it.
Sure.
Any questions from the audience?
I need some easy softball questions.
Good luck. So this is kind of softball. So what has surprised you most in the first 50 days as mayor?
You know, it really is just how siloed the city has been as far as the departments not connecting with one another. Everything else, I mean, I come from the utility side, so day-to-day operation stuff is not surprising, but that really is to me. I was like, okay, we've been coasting, and I want us to be better about customer service. I want us to be friendly to business. I want residents to know where they need to go when they have a question. And what I found is we've done everything in our power as the government to not get you to where you need to go. And when I say that, like, you call the city phone number, you got to dial 9 to get to the mayor's office, right? It's a lot. You got to listen to like 10 minutes of call this department, press this for this department, press this. Oh, if you want to reach the mayor's office, press 9, you know? And I'm just like, wow. Or submitting a form and it goes into a black hole of nowhere, you know? And I'm just like, this is not good. We have to be better. So I didn't talk about that, but we are working on a new website. In the future, it will be michigancity.in.gov. And I just think that they're just not used to that. And then also, all these social media pages I didn't know the city has. And then none of us own it. You know, it's like, how does that happen? You know? So just me like inventorying, you know, all of those things, it's been like interesting, but scary. It's like, okay, you know, my Michigan City Facebook, okay, let's remove these people off of here. Oh, we can. The marketing company from 10 years ago did it, so the person who did the social media page is no longer with that company. Oh, okay. That sounds like I need to get rid of that page, right? So it's just those basic things I think have been surprising for me to see, you know, in general, is that we do everything to keep the public from not reaching us. So, yeah.
So Mayor, couple things. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chris Chatfield, I'm with First Source Bank. I used to live in the city, live in the outskirts now of the port in Michigan City. I prayed for you in the snowstorm. To me, that was the most that we've seen in a very quick timeline of a mayor, right? So you did a great job.
Thank you.
What I would say is that I think there has to be a better communication method. So if it's a snowstorm, we park on the right on hot days, we park on the left on the even days.
I hate it.
What I would tell you, so I I would like to see how many people take the paper at home today. How many people get the newspaper at home? So we got 3 people in the room, 5 people in the room. So Mayor, we have to figure out how we can communicate that. I will tell you that I was, on one of those days, I had to navigate myself near Zorn to go somewhere else, and I got stuck because there were cars on both sides of the road. There was one lane. Somebody's coming at me at 80 miles an hour, and I got stuck. Fortunately, I had a shovel and some salt. So I think we have to figure out a better way to communicate. I'm not on Facebook. My wife is, but I don't think that everybody has Facebook, and I think that's the only way we can communicate now. So I don't know how we can communicate to our citizens stuff that's important. That's important because obviously during that time we had 30 inches of snow, which we haven't seen in a long time. We've had the cold, haven't had that kind of snow. So I think we have to figure out, and so I would just, that's just a public comment. I will say that overall, I think the city did a great job at getting things done during that period of time, but there has to be a way that we can communicate to people so they know. And how do we get that figured out?
So a couple of things. Even when you read the ordinance, it's horrible, okay? And Kelly from our team, we both were like, there's gotta be a better way to communicate this. It is so confusing. But I think we need to revisit the snow removal process, number one. Number two, one thing that we talked about is we have to get our employees snow removal training is another thing. But we're investigating text messaging for residents as well, where they can sign up for emergency alerts. They can decide on what alerts they want to receive. I think that's going to be the best way. But during that snowstorm, I did radio, TV, Facebook, you name it, we did it. And I think that the texting application where people can buy in or opt into it, and we wouldn't do it for everything. We would allow, residents to decide. But for emergencies, it'll be everybody who's registered, right? You give us your phone number, and you can receive alerts. I think that's going to be the quickest, simplest way of getting information out. But we did use every platform that we had access to. But the snow removal process has to be revisited totally. How we deal with, NICD during that time, how we deal with all the different groups. We had to call in outside resources, reaching out to NDOT for their assistance. And I made those phone calls myself. I needed the employees and the superintendents I needed them out in the field. I didn't need them making phone calls. So I did those phone calls. And I think that's important for them to understand. I'm just as invested in what happens as you are. So don't hide anything. Tell me the truth. Tell me when something's broken. To find out later is worse than telling me now. Because my temperament is very steady, but my tone can get angry. I try to keep it light because, they were doing, that was the hardest job during that time frame. And then it flipped, it went straight to trash, right? To refuse collection, which was chaos for 3 weeks. For 3 whole weeks. And we fielded calls, daily, all day. And once, our office or whoever would explain what was going on, residents were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I called, because now they understood. We don't run from the issues. When people call, we answer the question, we tell them exactly like it is. Just like when I said, look, I'm not apologizing for my workers out there working on these hours. I'm not gonna do that. What I will say is, we're gonna try to be better. But I'm not gonna apologize for the work that they did at all. So, we're getting there. We're gonna get there. It's only been 50 days. And I feel like I've communicated more in 50 days than I've heard in a long time. So it will get better.
Well, thank you for those questions. Mayor, do you have any final comments before we wrap it?
We're working on our State of the City. It's gonna be at the Stan Holdcraft Center at Elston on April 10th. So hopefully we'll have some announcements by then. Other than that, we're under, not 50 days, halfway through my 100 days. So just keep sending your information and any questions or concerns you have to us. We're working through boards and commissions. Oh my gosh. That has been like an act of Congress to get people appointed in these positions, because the dates are all over the place. And so working through that, sign up to be on boards and commissions. We're filling them still, and that's been a good process because we got a lot of people wanting to be on boards and commissions. I just wish they didn't all want to be on the same boards and commissions. I still have other boards that need to be filled, but everybody's going, hey, I want to be on redevelopment and planning, and everybody wants to be on the same ones. And I'm like, look, I need Historic Review Board, I need Women's Commission. The other thing I will say is that we have a Youth Commission and we have a Veterans Commission. I will be talking to the City Council about getting away from the ordinance and let me have my own Youth Council and my own Veterans Council. I feel like we should be doing more during Memorial Day and Veterans Day. We've identified some people I would like to recognize here in the coming months. Some of our first soldiers that were killed in Vietnam. 2 individuals that I want to get recognized. So there'll be more to come. But other than that, just thank you for all coming out and listen to me babble a little bit. But it's been a good 50 days.
Once again, thank you everybody for attending. You can find out more about our Community Connection series on our website, michigancitychamber.com. Our next one will be May 24th, where we will be getting an economic update from Clarence Hulse and Skylar York. So once again, thank you all for coming and enjoy your day.
Good job.